Recording. Okay. Hey everybody. Hey Gazwan, how are you?
Good, how are you, sir?
Ahmad, how are you guys?
I'm good, you?
Good, thank you. So I'm watching people come in and I was telling Fada and Natalia, I'm just getting the PowerPoint ready. I'll start showing my screen in a second here. Okay, give me 1 second, I'll be right back.
How you doing, Ghazwan?
Good, brother. How are you?
Good, thank you.
So how's it going?
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. How are you?
شو أخبارك؟ كيف حالك؟ كيف
It's good that we
صحتك؟
got this.
Alhamdulillah.
Alaikum.
چطور هستی؟ خوب هستم. جانا.
شاكو ماكو؟
چی که بس؟ ببگای.
كل شيء زين؟
Alhamdulillah.
من أين أجتك؟
العراق.
من العراق. شاكو ماكو من العراق ولا هو المصطلح من العراق؟ نعم أنا أفهم.
چی که بس؟ چی که بس؟
زين ولا كل شيء زين الحمد لله.
Alhamdulillah.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته أخي.
الحمد لله، كيفك أنت؟
الحمد لله الحمد لله.
الله يسلمك يا رب.
شكرا. الله يخليك.
نعم. إذا بدي سكر المايك تبعي، تعمل ميوت على المايك.
لا الآن الأستاذ ليس موجود غير ميوت ولكن بعد إن شاء الله.
سامعني هلا أنت؟ سامعني؟
All right. Thank you all for your patience. We'll get started in like 1 minute here. So again, I know everybody knows from last time, hopefully, and you heard the woman's voice, but again, we are recording. So if you don't want your voice, you don't want your face on there, turn it off. I spilled a little water. That's what I'm looking over here for. I'm just kind of mopping up over here. All right. Smaller group this time. Very interesting. We'll see how this goes week to week. So while I'll be very happy if the whole class comes, I think if they don't, it's good news for you guys because then we get a smaller class experience. Let's see. I think, oh, Madi says hi. I'm just looking at the chat. Diana says hey. Gazwan and Ahmad, great. Good to see you all. I know I talked to some of you this week via email or just people checking in on texts. All right, I'm going to start to share my screen. All right. Get all my fluids here to stay hydrated. All right, hi everybody. It is week 2. It is September 2nd, 2020. And we're here in ESL 350. But I do have the right slides. So here's what we're gonna do. We'll do just a quick check-in and then a Q&A. I know it's only been a week and people have started to complete the assignments. So I'm sure there might be questions about computer or Canvas stuff. So we'll start there just to sort of talk to each other. Then I've got a warm-up activity for us to introduce this idea of language translation and ideology. I'll give you a definition for what that word ideology is really soon here. Then we're going to start to explore this idea of language ideology today to introduce some of the ideas for why translation matters, because at the end of this meeting today, we're going to get ready and talk about, because hopefully, well, not hopefully, I mean, like, I'm encouraging you before we meet next week that you start the book. And for people who don't have why translation matters yet, do not worry. I already scanned the preface, the introduction, and chapter 1. It's all in Canvas. I will show you where that lives. So even if you don't have the book yet, I've given you everything you need to get started. So we'll talk about how to do that, right? How to get started with that textbook. So, but before we go to ideology, or I'm sorry, we're gonna go to ideology first. Before we go to ideology, what I'd like to do is maybe especially because we have only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, since we have a small group here, maybe if people just want to, if people feel comfortable, I'll just call your names. If people feel comfortable, can we just I just want a quick check-in. The question here is, how are you feeling about this class? Does it make sense? Did you have any problems with Canvas? Mostly I just want to hear sort of how you're doing with this class, and if there's any little or sort of short, easy questions I can answer for you right now, we can do that together. So usually in a class of 30 people, I don't get to do a check-in, but I think we have a small enough group. So I'm looking at you all on my screen, so you're in different orders. I'll just call your name. If you're not there or you don't feel comfortable speaking, just type something in the chat, you know, can't talk or don't want to talk now or something like that. That's totally fine. But let's get started with our quick check-ins here. How about Gazwan? You're the first person on my screen. How you doing, especially about this class? What's going on?
Hi, everyone. So, Professor Austin, I just have one question. Actually, so far I'm okay, but the book so far I couldn't get it. It's still transaction. I'm a little, I feel I'm a little behind. But when I'm looking for the assignments, the good thing there's no due date.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that's what I like it. I have other classes, but when I back again for the our class in here,
yes,
and no due date, I really feel comfortable.
Good. That's the idea. That's the idea. And again, I said it last week. Perfect. Thank you, Gazwan. Yeah, my suggestion is don't get too far behind, but yeah, I don't want you guys to feel stressed like there's something you have to do every day or stuff like that. So, and the other thing Gazwan said there that it makes me happy is you kind of, you know, if you get into our Canvas site, you kind of know where to go and what to do. And I think that's the most important thing, so that when you have time, you know what to do and where to go. How about you, Ahmad? How are you doing? How are you feeling about this class? Questions? What's going on?
Hi, everybody. Okay, I think I feel good, similar to Gazwan. I like the flexibility that this class gave us. I had one issue, and that's still the thing that I cannot access the question on quiz 4. Actually, I got the quiz 5 questions today, but on quiz 4, still I don't see anything.
I think this might be what Hiroe was working on, and I might be able to tell you what I learned from talking to Hiroe. So let's hear from everybody else, and if we have the same issue, I'll make sure I share it with everybody. And if it does work, we can all thank Hiroe, because she took a picture of what was going on her screen, and when she showed me her picture, I was like, oh, I know what to do. I can see Hiroe going on. Okay, perfect. So issue with quiz 4, is that the only thing so far, Ahmad?
Yeah, that's the one.
Great. How about Jay? Check in. How you doing? How you feeling? What's up?
I got a question. Is it quiz 4 or lesson 4? I'm confused.
Thank you. No, you're right. You're right. It's quiz 1, lesson 4.
Oh, okay. I was like, where is that?
Yeah, Canvas, and this is really boring, but Canvas calls them different things, right? Because if it's a quiz, it's a quiz. If it's an assignment, it's an assignment. I like this idea of language for the way or lessons. I love language, but I like lessons that make up units for how we organize this flexible class. So yeah, lots of different nouns, lots of different vocabulary items. So you're correct, Jay. Yes, lesson 4, quiz 1, I think is what Ahmad was talking about.
Because I was like, are they advanced or anything like that?
They blew past you, Jay. They're a month ahead of you.
I know.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, I also have a question about that, because the first time you publish it, it was like 0 out of 0, and I check on both, and then you updated it.
Got it. Okay, perfect. So quiz 4, I'll take a note. I'm just gonna end up showing you what I learned this morning. Okay, anything else other than lesson 4, quiz 1?
No, just
Okay.
that one.
Thank you, Jay. Usama, check in. How you doing? What's up? Anything on your mind?
I am in general good, but in this class I still old. But when I meet you, I feel uncomfortable.
You feel comfortable or uncomfortable, Usama?
I feel comfortable.
Oh, good.
Yes. When I meet you, I feel that I am well going on with this class.
Oh, good. Okay.
I did with the previous classes. This is one point. The other point that quiz, I just opened a quiz for a second.
Yes.
It considered a try.
Yeah.
Not fair. I am just looking at the quiz.
It's all good. Yeah, it's all good. Usama mentioned or messaged me this morning too. So if it's this first quiz, you guys, if we're having issues with the number of times and scores and points and stuff, we can figure it out. So if you need to take it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, we'll figure it out to make sure the technology works. Okay. But we'll get it fixed for you, Usama, for sure.
And the last point is I'm still not receiving the books, the third book, the translation book.
Got it.
And I sent 2 times to the book, to the store, I asked them about this book. Order is from 18. Now we are on the second December.
Okay.
Know what to do.
Well, okay, thank you. Yeah, hopefully we can get this fixed in like a week or 2. But like I said, I have enough. I have scanned chapter preface, introduction, and chapter 1. If we need to scan more, I will do that. So I'm sorry that that's happening. But everything, at least the PDF, at least so you can read on the screen, I've got that for you. Thank you so much. How about you, Liliana? Check in. Anything you want to share?
Hi. Well, I was feeling good until now because yesterday I thought I was like caught up in everything, but now everyone is talking about issues with the lesson 4 and I mean, I think I did it, but I don't know what they're talking about with it.
Okay. Okay. They might have. Okay, good. Try not to get too scared. Yeah. Okay. But that's a good point. So you're feeling good. If you submitted lesson 4, if there's an issue with anybody's lesson, you guys, I'm going to start grading in the next day or 2 here. So I'll see. I wanted to give you all a week to sort of see how much you could get done. I'll start grading soon. If there's any issue, like Liliana was saying, is my quiz okay? I'll let you know. So I'll let you know if there's a problem. But if you felt good when you did it, you were probably fine. Cool. Anything else?
No.
Cool. Thank you, Liliana. Natalia.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
I don't have any issues because I haven't made this lesson 4 yet so far.
All good.
But I feel scared too now. Okay, we'll see. But yeah, I just appreciate the way you did the lessons because I have 4 classes.
Yeah.
It's really very nice that I don't feel like pressure on me about due dates. But I'm trying to be on the way you put the lessons there.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. And we're all learning, right? I'm doing my best. So, you know, like I said last week, my suggestion, if you can try to do these things, I have the same sort of idea if you can for the next week. So again, I'm not going to give you due dates, but I also do want to be realistic, just to everybody's point, not just yours, Natalia, about sort of where my mind is, what I sort of think the speed should be. So, so like I said, don't feel stressed. And I also just want to make sure people don't feel like, it's all good, I don't have to do anything now, I'll catch up. Maybe, but just try to keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Thank you, Natalia. Hiroe.
Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Professor Jeff. I think I'm caught up. There are no questions.
Cool. Awesome. Easy check-in. Thank you, Hiroe.
Thank you.
Olga, are you there? Do you want to do a quick check-in?
Hello, everyone. Hi. I'm fine today. I have 2 questions.
Let's go.
One question about homework.
Mhm.
All homework will be on the models?
Yes, I think Olga, yeah, so I'll do this super fast for people who weren't here. So remember, and this is being recorded, Olga, so you can always check this stuff out. If you go to home, the homepage, everything, the easiest way to access things is on the homepage. So if you click live support materials, you can see last week's Zoom recording and last week's PowerPoint, right? And then if you go, and then the easiest way to look at assignments, instead of thinking due dates, like people were saying, we don't have due dates. If you click on modules, you'll see unit 1, unit 2, and then I'm getting ready for the first major writing assignment. So when you go here, let me show you, Olga, student view. So this is what you see. If you click modules, click unit 1, and that's it, right? So lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the first 5 assignments, Olga. Once you finish all 5 of these, then you're done with unit 1, and then you can access unit 2, which is where we're going to start why translation matters. Okay?
Do you see which assignment I finished or no?
Just ask again, Olga.
Do you see my assignment, assignment I finished?
I can. I'm not going to look at it right now because then everyone will see everyone's grades. But that's what I was trying to say to, I forget, Natalia or Hiroe. I forget who. I'm going to start grading in the next day or 2. So if there's any issue with something you did or homework, I will let you know in the next day or 2.
Okay. And one more question.
Sure.
Our Zoom class will be every Wednesday?
Yes.
Okay. Because I have 4 classes, 13 units, and I have math in my head.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. Yes. And if you're not sure, again, go back and watch last week's video, go back and read the syllabus. When you do the syllabus quiz, that question you just asked is on the quiz, because I'm trying to make sure you guys understand the days and times and sort of how this class goes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Olga. So few more people. Fada, are you there? Do you want to check in?
Hi, Professor.
Hello. Anything you want to add or check in about?
No, I do not have any question.
Thank you. Sounds good. Just want to make sure. Fada, thank you. How about Natasha? Anything? Question? Check in? How's it going?
Okay. Hi, everybody. Do you hear me?
We can. I can.
Okay, so nice to meet you again. And I don't have any question. I'm working on my letter to you, Professor. And I believe I finished my discussion and quizzes, so I'm good.
Great. Perfect. Yeah, I think I felt good about this because the discussion was going really well. I enjoyed reading the things you posted. You guys were responding back and forth to one another. So I agree. So thanks for bringing up the discussion, Natasha. I see, Fada, you've got your hand raised. Do you want to get in here?
Yes. I don't know the last Zoom meeting you told us that you have another number for the college bookstore, or my other professor was that one?
Yes, thank you. You're right. Contact information for bookstore. And I'm going to say better contact information. Thank you. I'm going to write this on the slide. Last week I wrote it down on a piece of paper on my dining room table. I'm going to put it in the slide so I don't forget this time, Fada.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sarush, I saw you come in. Sarush, do you want to check in? Any questions or anything going on with the class you want to talk about before we start?
No, thank you. I do not have any question. Thank you.
That's good. Thanks, Sarush.
Thank you. Sure.
And last person, Maddi. Do you want to say anything, check in, anything you want to add?
Hi, everyone. I just posted my question on the chatting. I don't know if you read it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't see it.
Okay, no worries. Thanks.
Okay, Madi says, I did the name coach assignment and it didn't grade it. Is that okay? And my classmates mentioned everything else. Perfect. So Madi's question was kind of like Olga's. In the next 2 or 3 days, like I said, 1, 2, 3 days, you'll start to see grades for the first assignments. I really wanted to give you a week so that you didn't start freaking out about points and grades yet. But if there's any issue or if there's any problem when I start to do the grading, I'll let you know. But for now, no score, not a problem, not a problem. Great, thank you. That was great. I loved hearing from all of you individually. That was wonderful. And I'm also happy because these are pretty basic, simple things. It seems like we understand sort of how the course is designed. The idea of no due dates is going pretty well. And you know, it's only been a week, but things are going okay. Gazwan, I see your hands raised. What's up?
Just about the discussion session.
Yes, please.
How many we should replay on it?
Just one. You only need to do one. I saw people doing more than one, which is great. I mean, if you read in a perfect world, like in my dream, you know, teacher brain, if you read something that's interesting or exciting to you and you want to connect to your other classmates about it, you totally can do as much as you want. But you have to, right, for points, just one. You only have to do one.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Any other questions about the past before we get into the present and then talk about the future? All right, let's go. So like I said today, we're going to introduce some of the topics and the ideas for why translation matters. We're also going to start to talk about some of the different reading, not a reading strategy, but sort of ways that I think you will have more fun when you do the reading for this class. So that's really what today is about introducing some of the ideas that you'll read in the book, and then thinking about, you know, you've already taken 325, you've already taken W340, most of you, or a lot of you. So you've read sort of longer texts, but you know, some of the stuff we read at this level is long, lots of vocabulary. So how do we do this, right? How do you read through a longer text? So that's what today is about. But first, before we talk about how to read, I just want to start to play with some of these ideas. So first, I've got a definition here, and the word is ideology. And an ideology is a set of ideas and beliefs that a group of people have about a specific topic or idea. So this is kind of like a big category now, right? Like we use this to talk about big ideas. And here's an example: that political party has a very strong ideology about religion, or she has a very strong ideology about
some political beliefs.
Yes, it could be political. Absolutely, Osama. It could be political beliefs. It could be a lot of different things, right? But if I look at this, what we're going to start to talk about in the beginning of this book is this idea of language ideology. So when I tell you the definition for language ideology, or when I tell you the definition of the word ideology, and like Osama already said, a political ideology, right? What I believe the right sort of political system is, or a religious ideology, what the right religion is, or ideology about gender roles, right? We're having this debate in the United States right now, men and women and gender and stuff like that. So when I say this idea about language ideology, you can type something in the chat if you want to raise your hand. Does anything come to mind, or what do you think of if I put these two words next to each other? Language ideology.
A closed language.
Say more.
Unfortunately, the other.
Say more, Osama.
The closed language. They don't accept to add any explanation, or they don't accept only their own words. The beliefs, the religions, the politics, and
Okay, so some people only accept their own language. Is that kind of the idea you're getting at there, Osama?
yes, yes.
Okay. And then I see a person typing in the chat. Let me take a look. Where did my chat bubble go? What's happening? Alt-H. Sorry, everybody, I'm having problems. Let me go to Fada, and then I'll pull the chat up when I'm not fighting my computer. Fada, I saw your hand. Do you want to talk about language ideology, what this might be?
Yes, Professor. It's the question is a little complicated for me, because as of my knowledge, when we say the political ideology, then we should have another subject under the political ideology, like communism, like liberalism, like this,
yes,
that.
Sure.
And also, if we want to say the religious ideology, then you should name the Islam, Jewish, Christian, Buddhism, like something like this, or in the social some things like the feminism, gender, or this kind of stuff.
Sure.
But in the term of the language ideology, so shall we have under this, for example, for the phonetics, I don't know, like the writing and linguistic or this kind of stuff? It was my question.
Yeah, I think, good. I'm gonna, great question, Fada. So let's do it this way. So maybe a definition here, a way to think about this is any group, so it could be a political group, it could be a religious group, it could be just a group of people who, it could be a group of teachers, right? I'm a language teacher. So language ideology is kind of talking about anyone who has strong beliefs or feelings about language. So just like you were saying, a political ideology is when people have very strong beliefs or ideas about politics, or people have very strong beliefs about a form of government or something, right? This is strong beliefs, ideas, or feelings about language. And I think Osama gave us one example. So one way to think, one way to believe about language is one language is the best language. And I think this is kind of what Osama was getting at. Well, if it's a person who speaks only one language, I think Americans do this all the time, right? Because most Americans only speak one language. It's like English, the best, like English is the best language. Now that's not true or false, right? It's just a belief. Like it's just kind of an ideology for a lot of people. Does that make more sense, Fada?
Yes, for me, it appears okay. And then the next round, I will have it.
Sure. And let's see. I've got hands coming up. So how about Liliana? Go ahead. We'll do Liliana, Hiroe, and then Natalia. I'll remember that order. So Liliana, please go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to mention that to me, language ideology sounds like you know when someone's speaking and they have like idioms or slang and they might believe that's not the right language, and then for other people who likes to write or who speaks correctly, and then they feel like, oh, this must be the language the like a book should be written or something like that.
Great. I love it, Liliana. That's perfect, right? So now these are some common beliefs. And again, we're not saying we agree or disagree with these beliefs. We're saying these are some ideologies. These are some beliefs that people have about language, right? So maybe using idioms or slang is not correct, is not good language. Writing is the best way to use a language. Hiroe, you were next.
So when I heard the word language ideology, I was thinking more of style, manner, tone,
Go on.
how you write a book or how you write something.
Mm-hmm.
So this came up to my mind.
I love that. Now connect this to this idea about an opinion or a belief. So you're talking about sort of different types or styles or genres of writing or even using language. Can you connect the idea that yes, there are different ways to use a language to feelings or belief or opinions?
Yeah, so I often have the situations because I speak 3 languages, right? And every time if I have to translate something, and then we have often the discussion, you shouldn't use this language. I mean, in a manner of style, on tone and feeling. So that's why this is only the thing. It came up to my mind because as I'm not a translator, but if you translate something, I shouldn't have any beliefs or so I'm just machine.
Good.
You know what I mean? So
I do. I'm just a machine. Oh, my
yeah.
heart, Hiroe, my heart. Cool. Love it. Makes perfect sense. I think that this idea of should and should not is definitely connected to ideology, right? Opinions, beliefs
Exactly.
about what's right or good or appropriate or best or whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And Natalia, right? You were next.
Yeah, my feelings like correlate with Liliana's thoughts. Maybe more in general way. Like I think if there is like a group of people who have their own language, so they think like language ideology to pronounce properly, to use properly some kind of words in different kind of situations. So they see it like the rules for them, this ideology. So you should like to fit in this situation and be proper in this language ideology in this country maybe, or
Good.
Dialects different in the border of one country.
Good. I love it. Good. And again, this makes perfect sense, right? We're starting at kind of like a big picture view. So it makes sense that a lot of people are thinking, okay, what are common beliefs people have about language? Well, a really common belief is, there's a right way and a wrong way to speak. There's a good way and a bad way, right? There's a proper and an improper. There's slang and then there's academic writing. So again, I'll say it for the third time. I'm not saying this is good, bad, right, or wrong. I'm just saying these are some of the things we start to think about underneath when we think about language and translation, especially. And again, we're starting with translation because it will prepare us for the first essay. But it's going to help us, I think, understand some of the ideas that Edith Grossman writes about in the book, because she starts to pick up and play with a lot of these ideas that we're sort of introducing right now, right? And especially Hiroe started to connect this to translation for us. Anybody else want to add to this list, common beliefs or ideas? Usama, please.
I have to say there is a very bad ideology. The Nazis and the fascistic and the radicalist religious people like like the terrorist organization in the Middle East and other places. This is those are ideological people. They are under right and wrong thing. We say Nazis is wrong, fascistic is wrong, communist is wrong, and no, all totalitarian and dictator system are wrong.
Yeah. I agree. I sort of wrote down, so I think Osama didn't give us an example, but I think he's pointing something out about ideology and kind of about all human beings everywhere, for better and for worse. Ideologies, when people believe things really strongly, right, sometimes they can be dangerous. So including language ideologies, when people become obsessed with right or wrong, it's true, bad things can happen. So, okay, does this make sense? Does anyone, I want to apply this. I want to show us an example, and then I want to test out this idea about, can we take an opinion about language ideologies from reading something? So does anyone have questions about this? Does this make sense before we practice with it?
I feel what the classmates, what they explain is amazing. Really.
Hey, I agree with you, Osama. Osama's saying thank you, everybody. Thank you, Liliana and Hiroe, and everyone who gave your ideas. I agree. Gazwan, I saw you unmute. You want to add something before we look at the example?
Yeah, but I just feel that that's ideology. It's kind of complexity. Again, it's simplicity.
Go on.
Yeah, you know, when you're the frame of the language or systematic, when you look at it in the way on ideology, it will be more complex. It's not simple.
Keep going. I think you're talking about a big idea. So you're saying no, I agree. Ideology is not something simple, right? It is complex.
Mm-hmm.
Can you connect this to the idea of language, or are you connecting this to Osama's idea, or what? Can you?
Yeah, I completely agree with Sam, especially for the politics side, when they always using completic things. They always drive you in different directions.
Right.
Because they're using the frame or the systematic of language that's deceive the others.
Right.
I know, I completely agree with you all, guys, when you said that's ideology. It's a belief. I know they believe something, but they're doing something else. That's what I say. It's a kind of complexity.
I agree completely. Yeah, it's humans are very complex. So especially when you start to think about opinions, beliefs, it can get very, very complex. And I think you guys already did a great job. So I'm going to go to my example here, but I do want to just say, I think you did a good job, right, of explaining. And as you think about this, when we look at this example, and as you start to read why translation matters in the next week or 2 weeks or whatever, what I want to encourage you to do is to start thinking like, okay, what are the beliefs? What are the opinions about language underneath this story, right? So if a person says, oh, like, well, you can't really speak a language unless you can write that language. I mean, maybe you guys agree with that, but that's a very strong belief, right? I mean, like, there are some people who can't write or read in any language, but they speak language every single day, right? So again, even if that's good, bad, right, or wrong, there is a strong belief there. I'd say the belief is, oh, maybe writing is more important or writing is better than speaking. So any opinion about language or anything you see, that's what I want you to start thinking. What idea, what opinion, what belief is under this example or this story? Osama, you'll go last, and then we'll show you an example. You want to add something?
Yes, I would like to add that ideology is a need in the human life through the human history. This is very important point to the human try to understand, to know why such a certain thing happened in his life. 2,000 years ago or more, the people create, believe, create religions, and these control their life. And what they needed, maybe we still need this ideology up to this moment to feel comfortable, to relax.
Maybe.
Yeah. This is my explanation about it.
Good. I love it. And actually, Usama, you perfect transition to the activity that I want to do here, which is Usama's talking about history, 2,000 years, the importance of language in human history. I completely agree. And that's why I'm going to read a story to you guys, okay? Now, this story is from the Bible. I want to be very clear that this is not a religious class. I am not saying that this is true, okay? But when we read Why Translation Matters, this story about the Tower of Babel, if you are a Christian or a Catholic, you probably know this story. And maybe if you're Muslim, I know that the Tower of Babel isn't in the Quran, exactly this story, but I know that there is some idea about language in the Quran, and maybe you just know about this story of the Tower of Babel. But I think that for many people in the West, right, in the West, especially in the United States where you are now, I want you to understand that language ideology, to Osama's point, is so deep, right? The feelings that we have about language are so deep. And this story in the Bible is so famous. And I think people use this story to talk about a lot of different things, at least in the United States and about Christianity. But I want us to look at it as a language ideology thing. So what I'm going to do is I've got it up on the screen for us. I'm just going to go through this. Okay, it's not that long, that's it. And as you're listening to me read it, I want you to think again, what beliefs about language, what ideas, and maybe like Hiro was talking about connecting this to translation, what kind of beliefs or ideas are in this story? And then when we come back, I'm gonna put you in groups to talk about that same question though, okay? So here's the story, I'm just gonna read it, you can follow along on the screen. Remember, don't think Jeff is trying to make me Christian. No, I'm just trying to tell you as an example about how old this stuff is, right? Okay, and as a preview, in Why Translation Matters, Edith Grossman writes about this. She says humans, at least, people in the West and Christians have been thinking about language, like you were saying, Osama, for thousands of years. It's been a big part of the story, this human story for a very long time. So, the Tower of Babel. So now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As people moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. They said to each other, "Come, let's make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They used brick instead of stone and tar for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered all over the whole face of the earth." But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, "If as one people speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so they will not understand each other." So the Lord scattered them from there all over the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it was called Babel, because the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From there, the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. Okay. So someone first, before we get to ideology, maybe if you know this story already, or if it makes sense, so give me in a short version, why is language important in this story? What was going on? What happened? Sarush, please. Yes.
Yeah, the language, yeah, the political language and the ideology language is, I think, it's for the control of the people, for the control of a human. It's useful for that. Like medical language, it's used in for those who study about medical and medicine. And ideology, I think, it's just for control of a human being. This language is useful.
Okay, love it. I'm gonna hold on. So Sarush is starting to talk about ideology. But before we go there, I do want to say, so let's make sure, I want to make sure everybody understands just sort of what happens in the story. And maybe you know the story in your first language, you can translate it into your English brain. So at the beginning of the story, what's going on with language? How many languages in the world?
One.
Yes. And then what happened?
They were able to build the tower too quick.
Great. Great. Then what happened?
It would have been too easy for the humankind. So the God wanted to make it more difficult.
Oh, I see. Now we're getting to this idea of easy and difficult. We're getting to this. I think those are ideology examples. Let's just stick with the facts first. So at the beginning, there was only one language. And again, I want to be clear and respectful here again. We're not saying this is true. We're saying this is what happened in the story. So there was one language. People worked together to build the tower to heaven. Just the facts in the story. What happened after that?
The Lord came down to them, and then it stopped them from continuing building the tower and make more than one language.
Good. And then what? Finish that for me, Liliana. So knock the tower down, created more than one language, and then we get that vocab word scattered. What's the meaning? If it says he scattered, the Lord scattered people, what's that?
Separated them.
Perfect.
Right.
Yeah. Does everyone agree? This is kind of the facts of the story. So at the beginning, there was one language. People worked together to build we could even say a very large, big, powerful, whatever, right? The idea here is I think it's supposed to be impressive tower up to the heavens. The Lord stopped them from building the tower. He created more than one language, and he moved the people all over the world to speak different languages. Do we agree this is kind of what happens in the story?
The human story, the humanity story.
Usama's thinking. So what I want you to do, I know we have a small group. Oh, I see Natasha, please, I see a hand, and then I'll tell you what we're doing next.
I would say there people could be unstoppable or would be unstoppable if they speak one language. They could do anything, like became a gods, like in their parentheses. Yeah.
I love it. Good. Save it for your small groups. But I love where you're going. Interesting. Perfect. So Natasha's sort of saying some of the ideas or feelings or maybe beliefs that came up thinking about this story. Gazwan and then Natalia, please. Gazwan.
I just want to know who said these words. Who's the writer? Or because it's really confusing.
Yeah. Well, that we could do a religion class.
I mean, I'm sorry. It's not about the religion, but the way he put it, and he's saying the gods. I know the Christians people.
Yeah.
They would never say that the God he separated or broke them. The people that are not united or something.
Well, if you go to, this is the Bible. So this is if you're Christian, I mean, this is part of the Old Testament. The first 5 chapters of the Bible is the Old Testament or the Torah. So Jewish people read only the first 5 chapters of the Bible. This is from Genesis. This is the first chapter of the Christian Bible. So if you're a Jew, then you read chapter 1 through 5. If you're a Christian, you read the whole Old Testament and the New Testament. But I was raised super Catholic, and this story is a very important part of the story that I learned as a child, being a Catholic person. So, and then who wrote this version and who translated, because we're reading this in English, right? So we know this is not the first language it was written in. That's a much sort of bigger and larger question. But I do think that the Bible for Christians is a little bit, it depends on which form of Christianity, Catholicism or Lutheranism or Protestantism or whatever. Who wrote it is less clear than, like the Quran I know is like inspired divine. It's, the words basically of Allah, right? It depends in Christianity. I don't think the idea is that this story is like word for word from the mouth of God. I don't think that's what Christian people believe. Maybe some do, some don't. So who wrote it is a complex question, Gazwa.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Natalia, please.
Yeah, I would like to develop the idea of Natasha's idea. So I think maybe it's it looks like there is a line between language and the power. So maybe if people
Now
have a
we're
language,
getting very now
there is a
now you're really talking. If we're talking about power dynamics, then you're really getting Jeff interested. I'm going to put you in groups because I feel like you guys are ready to talk about the ideologies here. So even if your hand's up or you wanted to say something, I'm going to ask, hold on, because what I want you to do is I'm going to put this in the chat right now. So if you want to look at this, when you're in your small groups, you can. Remember, I cannot share my screen while you're in your chat room. Hold on one second. Let me get the chat up. So if you want to look at this story while you're in your small group, there's the link. It's in the chat. And all I want you to do, you don't need to write anything down or take a picture, I don't think, but think about this story. What is the ideology in this story? Like Natalia wants to go to language and power. Amazing, go there, right? We were talking about, Sarush was talking about control. Maybe language is a way for people to control or be controlled. Love it. I mean, and Hiroe was talking about how easy or how difficult something could be. So maybe there's a belief that language makes things easy, or maybe language makes things more difficult. I don't know. But all of those are super interesting for me, hopefully for you, really interesting ideas, beliefs, or feelings about language, right? So, pardon me. This is really the only question I want you to talk about with your group, right? So what kind of beliefs about language are in this story? And again, this is not a right or wrong answer type of question. It's just a discussion for you guys to talk to each other about, okay? Okay. I see head nodding and silence. So let me get the breakout rooms ready.
Professor Jeff, I have a quick question.
I'm ready.
Now I'm getting confused if this ideology is morale we are talking. It's not the morale we are talking about. Morale of the story? No, right?
I mean, it could be. So Hiro is saying like the moral or the, I mean, I think that the two go together, Hiro, because if at the end of a story you think, oh, that story was trying to teach me something or tell me something, well, it's probably trying to teach you something because there's a belief about why that's important, right? I mean, you could certainly say for me, I have an ideology that taught, I mean, like, I don't want to overthink this or think too much, but here's an ideology that I have, right? Which is, I think it's important to think and talk about language ideologies. I think it's important for people to start to think about what beliefs do I have about language and why do I have those beliefs, right? Now, and as a teacher, right, I kind of have a moral, I have an idea at the end of a lesson for you to learn. So I don't think they're the exact same thing, but I definitely think they're connected. Does that make sense, Hiroe?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I like that. That sounded good. Anybody else questions before I put you in groups? Osama, I see your hand. Tell me.
Yes, just a small explanation. This text is written in a modern language.
It is.
We can understand it because if it is written in old English language, I think it is very difficult to read it.
If you want to, this is that's fine. Even if you don't, Usama, even if you don't know word for word, that's totally fine. I mean, this basically is, this is it. This is the idea, right? So there was only one language. When there was only one language, human beings built a tower up to heaven. God saw that the tower was very large. God knocked the tower over, made everybody speak different languages, and pushed people all over the earth. So that's the main idea. If you don't understand every word, that is very normal, and try not to worry about it too much. Anybody else? And then I'll put you in groups to talk about this question. Yes, Ahmad.
Yeah, as my understanding, looking even into this text, I believe that everyone has their own translation of this.
Yes.
Text.
And if you look at, you mean other religions or even different? Well, I mean, I think Ahmad is correct, because even if you look at, again, why I like to think about translation, on this website, which is basically just like a free, you know, the Bible online, you can choose, if you look at this menu here, first of all, you can translate it into Spanish, so thinking about translation, but you also see this long list. All of these are different translations of this same story for different people. Again, for me, I was raised Catholic. So when you're raised Catholic, you get the New King James Version of the Bible. And that language sounds even more traditional because it's from like the 1600s, the 17th century. Sometimes you could see like a Revised Standard Version, Tree of Life version, World English Bible. So if you could play with this too and just see how each of these different translations changes the words, right? But again, well, I don't know. The idea is that the meaning is the same. If we think translation is possible, the idea is that the meaning is the same, but the words change, right? So I just sort of picked the most American, I think it says like New American or sort of New International Version. So there's all these New American Standard. That's what I like to do. So yes, you are correct. The language still kind of can seem strange, even if the translation changes. So.
Yeah, and I wanted to add one thing, that everybody can interpret the words for themselves to understand the context, what it's talking about. For example, for me, looking at this one, it means everybody on the first part, the whole world was talking in the same language. At my understanding, are they referring to the language of God? It means follow the God, the way I see it.
Love it. Save it for your group, Ahmad, because that's a great thing to talk about. Okay, I'm going to send you to your groups. Click join. Just talk about what kind of beliefs about language are in this story. Okay, so click join now, and I'll see you guys in about 10 minutes or so.
Hello.
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 You trying to go back?
Yes. Is it time? Is it correct time?
Yeah.
Or it's too early?
Well, were you guys done?
Pretty much. We start to talking about the classes. Who taking which classes?
No, that's normal too, right? It's,
yeah.
It's just a chance for you guys to talk to each other too, not just about the class. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I'll bring everybody back now because I was going to say 1 or 2 more minutes, but I'll bring everybody back so you can hang out.
Yep.
Okay, I'll close the rooms. All right, we're coming back. We're back. We're back.
Something happened with my computer.
Uh-oh. That's right.
Are you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, because we talk in the group and after I did hear my classmates.
Yeah, I feel like something happened to my computer is like the sentence for our lives now. That's like all we say all day, every day. So I can hear you now, Olga.
Okay.
I'm going to start sharing my screen. All right. I'd love to hear from people who want to share. What were some of the things you guys shared about? What did you share with your group, or what was something interesting that your group talked about? Again, this is not one of those, there's only one answer. I mean, people have been thinking about this story for, like Osama was saying, for 2,000 years. So yeah, what do we think? Fada, you want to go first?
So yeah, I shared my ideas that and when we're thinking about the language is, some people say if we have language, we don't have problem in this world, for example, it's like this. But I say if we have the heart language instead of tongue languages, we don't have lots of problem. So it's my idea.
So so one idea in this story is that if everyone had the same language, there would be no problems.
Yeah, people have more power, and also they would do not have, and also lots of
Got it. If everyone
problem.
spoke the same language. Great. Okay, so Fada's saying some beliefs that he sees or shared with his group. If everyone had the same language, there would be no problems. If everyone spoke the same language, they, I guess, individuals, people would have more power. Okay, yeah, I love it. Thank you, Fada. Who else? Who else? Yes, Osama, please.
Yes, I am going to explain my opinion about the facts. Now, the facts, there is a lot of language on the earth, and there is living order in the earth, and this is a very dangerous.
Osama, you're disconnected, Osama.
I was going to say, I heard you and then I didn't hear you. Can you get a little closer? I could hear you at first and then I couldn't hear your voice, Osama.
Now you
much better, much better.
Yes, in the same time, from one side there is a big differences between people.
Yes.
Between belief, but from the other side, from the moral value side, there is a sincerity. Most of all religions believe in justice. All the religions believe in the cheating is forbidden. All religions believe in the equality. All religions believe people should be forgiveness. The religions believe that rich people should help poor people. Or the religions believe that healthy people should help sick people. There is a moral values similar to each other. So the story, the scattered, the people scattering became in this way, in this explanation.
Got it. Okay. And do you want to add anything to connect that to language? So do you think, how do those ideas connect to a belief about language or something?
All people spoke in a lot of languages. There is hundreds of languages on the earth.
Mm-hmm.
So each language explains their beliefs in their own way. But there is something in common, that there is one God, and there is a more similarity in their moral values.
Got it. Okay, good. I wrote down Osama's ideas kind of that there's some, maybe in this story, we get the ideology, the belief that because there are many languages, people can use their own language to understand a common idea or a common belief in God, in justice, in morals, or in morality, or something like this. So good, I like that. That's a complex idea, Osama, really nice. Who else? What other ideology did you see in this story? Leticia, do I see your hand? Yeah, please. Can I unmute you, Leticia, or unmute yourself, Leticia, and then go ahead.
Yes, for me, speak different language is really important because for our backgrounds, in my opinion, I teach my daughters to speak two language because for better communication and learn their own culture, my origin, where I came from, and I like to teach them a lot of things in my language.
Do you feel like, and I don't know if you know this story, but the Tower of Babel, do you think that this story agrees with you, that this story says, yes, different languages are good, or do you think that this story says different languages are a problem?
I agree.
You can think about it. Think about it. I don't even know if there's one perfect answer, Leticia, but think about it, because I agree with what you said, Leticia, but I want you to think about, does this story agree with you, right? Like, does the ideology?
Yes, it's agree with me. It's agree with me.
Well, vamos a ver. I don't know. We'll see. We need to find out. I don't know. Okay, who else? Thank you, Leticia. I saw a hand. Yes, Hideaway, thank you.
Yes, my idea is I never read this story for the first time today. I read, and so I understood if we spoke only one language, the people were able to make this stairs or towers to the heaven too easy. This is not the reason why we are here. Otherwise, we are back to him easily. So he said, the God said, okay, create different kind of languages so that you guys make more effort to understand each other and find out the tool, to understand each other. So make the effort is the struggle or, that we have to work on understanding each other. So
fantastic.
Yeah, and so the answer to your question is it good or bad? For the thought of the God in this story, I think yes, he wanted us to struggle to learn. So that's why I think yes, good to have many languages.
Lovely, Hideaway. And again, I say good and bad because it's an easy way. Humans like to think good and bad, right? But of course, everything is much more complicated than that. But you're correct. What I think Hideaway did there really beautifully, everybody, and anyone watching this recording, Hideaway connected the language ideology, what the story says, or feelings or belief about language. And then you, Hideaway, connected that to an ideology about humanity, about purpose, about some of those things that Osama was talking about, right? Because of course this isn't a religious story. So the idea is, okay, this is a story about language. So if this happens because of language, what should I think about my religion or my relationship to God or whatever? So Hideaway, you did a great job connecting language ideology to just sort of like even a bigger ideology. So really Really fantastic. Liliana, did I see your hand?
Yes, I just wanted to share that to me the story gave me feelings of power and feelings of like ambition. Ambition. How do you say that?
Ambition.
Ambition.
Yeah.
Like it was saying that one language, it was like the unity. They were super powerful, but then like they were the victims. Someone more powerful than them didn't want them to, like to get what they wanted. So it kind of broke them out. But then I was wondering, like, why is that bad? Like why diversity is so bad? Like, I don't know. That was just a comment.
I love it. I love it because I thought about this word. I think about this word a lot too, Liliana, about diversity is a really common word you hear in the United States. You hear that, of course, at college right now. Of course, the value of diversity, how important diversity is. So I don't know if this story has something specific about diversity, but I had a similar thought where I thought like, okay, so is this saying one language is better than multiple language? What does that say about diversity? And of course, connecting this to issues of power, I think, again, for me is very interesting. So what is the connection between language and diversity? And again, like Hiro was saying, this simple, sort of overly simple, but that I'm using, right? About good and bad. Is that good? Is that bad? Or is that bad? So good. Okay, Osama, or anybody else who didn't talk yet, because I want to make sure, if not, then Osama, you're next, but I want to see if anybody else who didn't talk, anything to add. Yes, Ahmed.
Yeah, as we talk within our groups and Liliana and Hiro added some stuff, I think the text itself shows kind of related to the power of language and how important a language can be to keep the balance among the humanity.
Wow. Can you say more about balance, Ahmed? Because when you said balance, I got really excited. So can you just say a little bit more?
So I will talk balance between the so-called gods and humans.
Love it. Wow. Okay. Cool. Thank you, Ahmed. Really interesting. That's amazing. Really interesting. Anybody else? Because I have one more example, but I love this one, and I think you guys had great ideas. Okay. I want to show one more example. This is a really short video. And again, I know more, of course, I know more about Christianity because I was raised Catholic, but I've come to learn a lot from students. And one of my most important teachers that I ever had was Dr. Popal. Dr. Popal was from Kabul. So I got to learn a lot about Afghan culture and Islam. So I know the tiny, tiny little bit that I know about Islam is that the language, right, Arabic language of the Quran is very, very important. Am I correct, right? Yes, I see at least two people going, yes, yes, yes. Now again, I want to make sure my intention is to be careful and respectful, but I do have a video that I want to play that I found. Then I started Googling, like, is it okay to translate the Quran? Is that ever okay? Like, can you read the Quran in other languages? And so I was thinking about this because I know how important Arabic is as the word of the prophet, right? And the link and the connection between Allah and his people. So I'm going to play a video because I think it has a person talking about language ideology in Islam. Before I play the video, right, this is a man from Saudi. So he's talking about Islam from a very specific place, right? He has a very specific idea and opinion. And even I know the Arabic in Saudi is different than the Arabic in Egypt, is different than the Arabic in Jordan. I mean, and in Palestine. So just like the English in the United States is different than the English in the US and all of those things, right? So I just want to make sure that my intention is to be respectful, not to say that I know more about Islam. I don't know anything, but I wanted to make sure that for the Muslim students, you could talk about this idea because just like language is such a huge part. Language ideology, I think, is a huge part of the West, right from our religious texts. I think my understanding is that the Quran has there's some strong beliefs and ideas about language when it comes to Islam and the Quran as well. So I'm going to play this short video. I am going to turn the captions on. I think that he's very easy to understand, but if speakers have never heard Arabic, it might be hard for you guys. So I'm going to turn the captions on. So let me share the sound. And as I do this again, all I want you to think about, just listen to him. And the only question is, what beliefs about language do I hear? That's all I want you to think about when you listen to what he has to say. Okay? So here we go.
Says in her question, I can't read Arabic, so I read the Quran in English. Is it okay? In Arabic we say ما لا يدرك كله لا يترك جله. Whatever you cannot achieve as a whole, at least achieve some of it. So basically, in order to communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala via reading His word, if you don't know Arabic, it doesn't mean that you should not try to read it or understand it in any other language. Whenever a Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam sent letters to the kings, to the rulers of other empires and societies, there was interpreters to translate to them the word of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They did not wait until they learn Arabic. So there will be two parallel means to achieve comprehending the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us. Number one, innocently read it in your mother tongue. Read the meaning of this message in your mother tongue. Number two, work on learning the basic Arabic, which will make you able to read it. And also with regards to the meaning of this ayat, there have been many translations to some of the best tafasir. Tafasir is plural of tafsir, which is the interpretation of the Quran. Such as, for instance, the abridged tafsir of Ibn Kathir is now available in English. And since you sent to us the question in English, I would highly recommend for you to get a free copy if you want to. It has been published by Darus Salam publication, and I pray for these guys that they have made this tremendous effort to make it affordable and easy for English speakers to understand the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the tafsir of Ibn Kathir in 10 volumes. And it is available as well in their online store, and it's available for free online if you'd like to download it, so that you understand the meaning of what you're reading. Along with, there are many programs, online and distant learning programs to learn Arabic. I was so happy and pleased to see some families in Japan, the other part of the world. Japanese reverts, يعني, they were not exposed to Arabic or any other civilization other than theirs. Yet, their kids memorize Quran, study the Quran in Arabic. How? On Skype. Some teachers whom they have never met in their life, they teach them distant learning and tutoring via Skype and other means of social media and so on. So it's very much affordable. If you attend 15 minutes every day, I promise you, between 6 months to a year, you'll be able to read the Quran perfectly, inshallah.
Huda TV's social media sites are the best.
Okay. So remember, agree or disagree with this person, that's all good. But when you listen to him talking about this idea of language translation, what are some ideologies that you heard when you were listening to the video? Osama, go ahead.
Yes, I feel it is a radicalist ideology because he wants all people to learn Arabic to understand Quran. And he wants to read some interpretation of Quran, and that interpretation is very old and cannot explain the Quran. So this, it is it is what kind of ideological radicalist propaganda for a certain understanding of Islam.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we got a little bit of, so I'm going to say two things. I think we heard a little bit of Usama's ideology. I think Usama was saying his idea, belief is that you had a belief about the opinion in the video that maybe it might be radical to say you must use, you must read in Arabic. But one ideology was, I'd say that was in the video that Usama touched on was, if you can learn to read in Arabic, that would be good. Like that was an idea in the video, right? Like he basically says this, if you can learn to read it in Arabic, you should. That was definitely in the video, right? And then Osama was saying, I think Osama was saying, I don't know if I agree with that opinion, but that was the opinion in the video, right? Hiroe, please.
So what I thought was he was saying, of course, learning or reading or understanding it in other language, it is better than nothing. But he believes this could be understand the best in Arabic. Yeah, it's maybe just yeah, better to read it in Arabic to understand it 100%.
Love it.
But he appreciates the other people who try to understand it in other language. This is what I thought.
Good. Great, Hiroe, thank you. So I said reading a translation is better than nothing. That was kind of what Hiroe was saying. Another ideology in the video is that, but maybe reading something, in this case, the Quran in Arabic or the first language is best. I think that was an idea that Hiroe mentioned. And I agree. I think that is definitely kind of an ideology in the video. But then something else that was really nice that again, he didn't say, hey, it's great if you try, that's great, that's my belief. But I think Hiro is correct when she says another ideology was like, hey, like it's good to try, even if you try to understand in your own language and then see if you can learn the first language. Good. Anybody else want to add what other ideologies or beliefs did we see in this video? Yeah, Fana.
Yeah. So I want to add something. There was he mentioned about two things. One, he gave an example that the translation is a little hard to the other languages. So the people who know 2 or 3 language, for example, you know as well the Spanish, but if you want to translate, maybe it's a little hard to translate exact word from English to Spanish. This is the one thing which he mentioned about that one. And yeah, I want to add that one. Because of translation, he mentioned that is it's a little hard to translate for the other language in some cases. But the second one, because it was the parts of religion, for example, in pray, which the Muslims pray 5 times or 3 times, they're in the most of, root of Islam, they are not allowed to read the translation inside the pray 5 times, not the pray just in 5 times. So among the scholars, among the imams, just Imam Abu Hanifa, they give the lessons to, if you cannot read in Arabic, you cannot in Farsi. But instead, you should memorize some small part and for the pray. But the other parts you can do in your own language, as he mentioned, on your mother language or mother tongue, something he said.
Great, I love that because, so I love Fada's example because that's something Fada knows and is a great example, but even though he didn't talk about it in the video, but there is this idea that maybe in the video, one ideology we did see, one belief we did see is, okay, some things you can't translate or some things cannot be translated. So Fada's example of the prayers, right? That would be something, an example of, oh, because some things can't be translated, these are examples of things, you know what, memorize it, even if you don't know exactly what you're saying or what you mean, you have to keep this in the first language. So I love that. I love Fada's comment because we see the ideology that he mentions in the video, some things can't be translated, and then we see how that belief shows up in real life, right? Is, okay, well, some things can't be translated, so I have to memorize this in Arabic. And I will say again, for my Christian people, this is not, of course, this idea is not strange at all for religions all over the world. But, you know, in Christianity, it was Latin only until like 1960. It was Latin only. I mean, you could, if you wanted to go to Mass, you could not hear it in English or Spanish or anything. So this idea of keeping some things can't be translated, that's an old ideology, right?
Yeah.
And it goes across time. Fada, and then Natasha, I see your hand, but Fada, go ahead.
So yeah, I wanna confirm viewers that Martin Luther came, and also he was the first one that they translate the Bibles to the German, then the other languages.
That's
yes.
right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, Natasha, please. And Osama, I see your hand too, but I saw Natasha
Ye-
first. Go ahead.
Yes, I see that the speaker wants to say also to learn other language. It's not necessary to be present in this country. You can do it like distanceless, like distance learning. It's even you not exposed to this culture, you can also learn this language. So ideology of the learning language, like nothing can stop you to learn new language or something like, it's very interesting.
I love that, Natasha. Such a good point. Such a good insight, right? So that is, you guys, again, that's like Keto's example earlier. That's a perfect example of, this isn't something he said, hey, I believe you can learn a language anywhere. But from what he said, Natasha did a perfect job saying, okay, well, he said you can learn on Skype, you can learn with a tutor. Well, that means, that means you can learn a language anywhere. You don't have to live in the culture or live in that country. So perfect, Natasha, so good. Such a good example of how to try and take an ideology out of something you read or see or listen to. So fantastic. So you don't need to be in a country or culture to learn its language. Even that, we could talk about this one. We could talk about if we agree or disagree with this belief, this ideology. We could talk about that one for 2 hours, Osama.
Yes, I want to comment about several things. Yes, the Bible is not only in Latin.
Osama, please keep closer to Mike, Osama.
I was gonna say too, come closer.
Yeah.
I would like to say the Bible is written or composed, whatever, from not the Aramaic language. There is some language, only one village spoke this language in Syria. This village near Damascus, people spoke this.
Yes.
This is one. The second one, if we said for the last comment of my classmate, that it is right that we can learn languages online, distance learning. But Arabic language, the modern language, is quite different from Quran language.
Yeah.
I am a good reader and I am in a good Arabic education. For me, it is very difficult to understand Quran. So it is not easy, as the gentleman said, to learn language, updated language. Recent language is an issue, and to understand the religion is another issue.
I love Osama. I hear, I'm hearing Osama's language ideology. I will say generally, I do agree with what you're saying there, Osama, too, right? Is language, well, and this is a good transition here because we're going to connect to Grossman in a second. I know we've got about 20 minutes, but Grossman.
So, can I add a small part?
Sure. Yeah.
So the I exactly agree that modern language, the language is changing during the time, exactly. But this Quran, that Bible, and that the Hindus books and this kind of stuff is not new, Osama. These are from the many years and centuries ago.
Well, it's the Bible is an interesting example because, as you said, Aramaic. I mean, it's not, the Bible wasn't written in Latin, right? Do you know what I mean? But Latin was the language of Christianity for hundreds of years, and now that is a big difference with Islam, right? So even though Islam was in Arabic from the beginning, of course, language over 1,000 years, the meaning and the use of a language, any language, will change over time. So I think that's what you were saying too, Fada, right? Is like, yeah, I mean, a language, and again, we're getting ready for Grossman because this is a point Grossman makes, which is, a good translation is not just is not translating word for word, because if you're translating the Bible, let's just say, the meaning of a word from 2,000 years ago is very different. So if you just translate word for word, you probably aren't getting the same meaning because you're erasing thousands of years or hundreds of years of history, right? So, and these are some of the complex ideas that we get to play with for the first couple of weeks when we read Grossman, because we're doing this all the time, right? We all do this all the time as bilingual, multilingual people. We translate our thoughts, our feelings, a sign, whatever. We do this all the time, and I don't think we think about, like Liliana was saying, we think about diversity, we think about race, we think about gender, we think about all these things that affect our beliefs, but I don't know how often we think about the beliefs we have about language. Aside from you guys, I think there's one belief: learning English will help me in my life in America. Good ideology, right? But beyond that, I mean, like, is it good? Is it bad? Power, all those things, it gets much more complicated, right? So I think I saw Hala's hand raised and I saw Natasha. So Hala, if you still want to talk, please go ahead.
Okay, hi. I think what they said, like if they translate the Quran to English, it will has different meaning, because the first language is Arabic, and all religions came with Arabic language. And when you change the language, like change it to English or another language,
Yes.
it will have different meaning.
Thank you.
When you read it, you will has different meaning, not the same meaning.
Cool.
Of the Quran.
Thank you. I'm not going to say if I agree or disagree. Keep that in mind when you read the first chapter. See if you think Edith Grossman agrees. But again, we're getting to the heart of it, right? This is the heart of the idea. Natasha, I saw your hand, and then I see Gazwan. I see your hand too. But Natasha, you were first if you still want to talk. While we wait, maybe Natasha will come back. Gazwan, please go ahead.
All right, thank you. Actually, the ideology, what I think is, he said that translation is accepting as long as it's from the reliable source.
Interesting. Okay. Good.
And I agree with all those guys, what they say when they say that trying to new language is good, and Arabic language is really difficult.
Good. I'm going to add just one thing to what Gazwan said there is, so translation's acceptable as long as it's from a reliable source. And if that's true, then you do kind of have to believe, okay, well, then there is such a thing as a good translation, or there is such a thing as a reliable source, right? And even that's kind of another ideology connected to what Gazwan just said. So, okay, translation's okay as long as it's a reliable source or a good translation. Well, that means I do believe at least some way that a good translation is possible. You can kind of, get some of the same meaning in there. Hala, you got your hand back up. I want to make sure just for time, I want to make sure I show you what we're doing before we start reading. So I want to hear from maybe 2 more people, and that's it. It's not because I don't want to keep talking. I love this, and I could talk about it forever. It's kind of my job, so I do get to talk about it forever. Yes, Hala, please.
He said it's good if it's reliable, but even in Arabic, we have some words in Quran we don't understand, and the people, like the people like they don't agree with each other about these words. How can we translate it to English?
Great. I love it. I can't answer that question, but how about you're kind of connecting to some of the ideas that we were talking about there, which is like Usama and Fada were talking about. So if you're reading something that's 1,300 years old and you speak Arabic, but you see a word that is in Arabic, you don't even know what that word is because it's 1,000 years old, then how do you translate that word into a new language and get the meaning of that word? And yeah, it gets complicated. Yeah,
So
Fada,
the,
please.
yeah, so on the history of Quran, as I read it, there's two different things. First, as my classmates Ala mentioned, thousands of years ago, the people didn't understand on that meanings as well, because we believe that every prophet have a kind of miraculous or mu'jiza in Arabic. For example, Jesus. So the people believe that he can cure the some diseases, or he can so the people when died he can give to them alive again. This is the Jesus, so miraculous. On that time there was a little, I mean, the Arab people was good in literature. In this case, we believe that there is some word we called in Arabic huruf muqatti'at. So on that time, the people didn't understand the meaning of that words because it was a challenge for that people. And it means that on 100 years ago, there is some word in Quran that the people on that time, the Arabs people, did not understand what is the meaning of exact this word. And also then still it's the same. Yeah.
Love it. I'm just, Osama, I see your hand, but just for time, I want to make sure I show you the homework, and so people don't know, oh my God, what are we doing? Of course, so I hate cutting people off, but I know, because we could talk about this forever, right? There is no real answer here. That's why that's why we get to talk about it for 15 weeks and write about it. There's no one perfect answer. It's not like a grammar quiz, right? These are the type of ideas that I want you to be thinking about, especially when we start the first essay, which won't be for another 2 weeks or so. But these ideas about what are some of the beliefs people have about language, what are some of the beliefs people have about translation, this is what Fada was just getting at, I think, where do those beliefs come from, right? Why do people believe the things that they do about language? Those are hugely important. Now, Edith Grossman is not going to talk about translating the Bible or the Quran, but I think, again, both the Bible and the Quran are good examples because we know a lot of the stories, or we think about them in our life. We know that they're very old. We know that they are translated into different languages all over the world. And what does that mean, right? How does that affect our understanding? How does that affect and change how we read them? Because like I said, I was raised very Catholic. I know a lot about Catholicism. I don't speak Latin. Do you know what I mean? Like 100 years ago, maybe I would have had to learn Latin. I don't know. But so the things that I learned when I was growing up, like, do I think that they're totally different? Do you know what I mean? Like, is that not really Christianity? I don't know. I don't know. I think it's interesting to think about, though. Okay, so here's what I want us to think about next. All of these ideas, I promise, are in Edith Grossman's book, and that's why we're previewing them today. So let me move this. So here's what I'm encouraging you to do. I'm going to make my screen smaller so you can see the whole thing. So here's my suggestions. So before 9/9, that's a week from today, my suggestion, if you can, is to do lesson 6. That'll be a reading quiz, just asking you some facts about what you read in the preface and the introduction to Edith Grossman. And then lesson 7, there'll be a short reflection or writing activity for that same section. So the preface and the introduction. I will show you all of this in Canvas in 1 second, okay? Now, if you go fast, if you have time, and if you want to keep going, you can also go on to lesson 8 and lesson 9, which will be the same thing, a short sort of reading quiz just to make sure you read through and understood the ideas, and then a reflection writing activity for you to do some of this stuff, which I think is more fun and interesting, which is to sort of play with the big ideas that you read. Okay, so suggestion for 1 week, lesson 6 and 7. If you go fast and you want to keep going, you can go on to lesson 8 and 9. Okay. Now I want to show you in Canvas what this.
Excuse me, Professor, from which book?
Why translation matters. Now, if you don't have the book yet, that's fine, because I'm going to show you in Canvas.
Yeah, I do not have it yet.
So I wish I could. Yeah, I think I like paper better, but so again, I'm sorry that I don't have the paper for you or that the books aren't here, but I can give you, I'll show you what I did here. So if you go to modules and you go to lesson 6, preface and introduction. So there's a couple things here. So I'll post the quiz in a second. The quiz isn't here yet, but what my instructions here say, read the preface and introduction to Why Translation Matters. And if you click the link, it'll open here, right? So here it is. It just opens up for you, the PDF. Then if you want, you can listen to me read the preface and introduction while you read. So for most of the books that we're going to read this semester, I have recorded myself reading the book out loud for you. So you can just listen to that if you want. You can read the PDF and then go back and listen to me. You can listen to me while you're reading the PDF. I don't care. My idea is to give you just more options, more choices to make you feel like you understand. I think the other thing that I love to do in class with a class like this is I love to read out loud and read with you guys. It's something I really am going to miss about doing this online. So the way I'm trying to do that is to record myself and give it to you if you want it and if it will be helpful. Yeah, Fada.
So just I have a purpose and for my classmate. So at the same time, when we're reading, if we listening, it's better because we learn the word with correct pronunciation. That's I have experience. I memorized the word in bad pronunciation. When I'm talking on the phone, the people ask me for a long time. For example, yesterday I say direction, so someone's told me no, it's direction. Like
Thank you, Fada. I'll also add, I did make a slide here to just say why am I doing this, right? Why did I record myself? So I'll just read what I wrote down for you to explain this. So I've recorded myself reading the chapters, and I strongly encourage you to listen to my voice while you read or reread. So when I read the book out loud, I tried to speak the ideas to be understood so that it's easier for you to listen, right? I know that when we're reading sort of academic texts, it's really easy if you're just by yourself alone reading to be like, what is going on? I don't understand. Oh my God. So I tried to read kind of the way I talk in class, right? Like I try to have a feeling and I'm trying to really explain an idea. So my goal down here is I recorded myself so that you could hopefully focus on the ideas in the reading and instead of just trying to understand what's going on. I really do think it makes a difference if the person communicating with you is really trying to be understood, then I think it's easier to understand. I don't want that to sound stupid, but I really do think it matters. So when I was reading out loud, that was my intention is, okay, I'm going to read this to try and help people understand the language so that you can really start to play with the ideas. That's my goal. That's my goal. And if you're driving or you're bored or something and you just want to play like 10 minutes of me, like you can kind of get through the book that way. I mean, whatever works, you guys. Think of it as like a really exciting, I was going to say boring, a really exciting podcast that you're listening to for this class. I want to say one other thing and then we'll open it up for questions because I think we're just about at time. So one thing I want to say right now, and I'm going to pause and do this. This book is going to feel difficult because there's a lot of academic vocabulary. I know what it's like to have this experience in Spanish, okay? It sucks at first. It's scary and you feel like, oh my God, I don't know what that word is. I can't read this book. It's too hard. I have to quit. Oh my God, I can't do it. I see Halas giving thumbs up. So I'm encouraging you. Maybe I'm begging you. I'm asking you. Don't stop, right? Don't stop. Don't translate every word. Don't look up every word that you don't know. And for us in 350, what I really encourage you to do, I want you to just keep reading. Ideally means like in a perfect world for at least 15 minutes at a time. I'd say at least 10 minutes. If 15 is too much, set a timer on your phone. 10 minutes, I will just keep reading. Then let the alarm go off and then ask yourself, and then stop and say, okay, Obviously, there are some words I didn't know. What did I understand, right? This is a really good reading strategy that will help you get through that fear, right? Because that's all that is. When you start to read and in 2 pages, you're like, I can't do it. That is fear. Don't listen to the fear. You're here to, you're here to push through it. You're here to push through it. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I'm saying it's worth it. It's going to be worth it. So don't worry. We'll have time to practice vocabulary. I know that there's going to be vocabulary that will look scary and difficult for you. This is, any kind of academic book. I read books like this too, and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know what that adjective, what's going on? So don't get caught up on each word. Try to focus on meaning. If you read for a page or two and you're totally lost, then put my recording on, because I promise, even if you don't know the words that I'm using, I think you know by now from just 2 classes, I tried to use my voice and my body to express things. I think I do a good job of using my voice to make things clear or explain ideas. And that's what I'm trying to do when I recorded myself in the reading. So if you get really scared, put on the audio of me reading. Don't just put it down and say, oh my God, I can't do it. I'll never do it again. I have to drop this class. Please, I beg of you. That's my invitation to all of you. So again, all of these assignments all live on Canvas. The PDF will be here. My recording is going to be here. This is the same exact thing for lesson 8, right? Chapter 1. So lesson 8 is chapter 1. Same thing. If you click the file here, you'll get the next PDF, which has chapter 1, right? And then my recording. So I've broken this up by chapters. Each chapter has a PDF. Each chapter has me reading that section out loud for you. And then in a day or two, I'll post the quiz for the questions for you to take a look at. So we're just about at time. If you need to go, I love you and I support you. If you have questions and you want to stay, I can stay for another few minutes. So if you got to go, bye-bye. If you don't, stay with me and I can answer questions. So we'll give people time to leave if they need to leave.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
Thank you, everybody. So good to see you. Thank you for a really amazing, fun discussion.
Thank you, Professor. I
Thank you, Professor.
like this topic.
Ooh, I could tell. I know you wanted to share some opinions and ideas. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. Hideaway, I saw your hand, please.
Yes, I don't like to make a same mistake again. So when do I know I can click on the take the quiz?
You know what? That's a great question. Let me do this, Hideaway.
Or maybe we shouldn't see it yet, until.
I was just going to say what I wanted to, Canvas has all these weird rules. I wanted to publish them so that I could show them to you right now. But you're right. Let me do this. I just won't even publish them until they're ready for you.
Yeah.
So you can't see them yet. As soon as I want to give, what I really want to do, Hideaway, and again, I told you, everybody, I will always tell you why I'm doing things. I want to publish them after this video is done and ready for the other students to watch. So I won't wait for them to watch it, but I will wait until I've posted the video.
I see. Makes sense.
Before I put the quizzes on.
How about, I have a suggestion. How about if you would put at the number 3, hey, please do not click the submit button yet. For example.
Yes. And I'm going to show people who had that same question, Hideaway. Yes, yeah. Thank you. Other questions about this or anything else?
When will you submit this record?
So it takes, usually I saw last week, it takes Zoom because it records to the Zoom cloud. And usually the Zoom is ready and says it's done after about an hour, 60 or 90 minutes. And then basically as soon as Zoom says it's done, I post it. So I just kind of have to wait for the Zoom servers and all that stuff.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Please. Leticia.
Yes, I wasn't able to watch the video. How can you link, please?
Yeah, if you go to home, anything I ever do in a class like this on Wednesday, Leticia, if you go to the home button on your phone, you can click home. On your computer, you click home, and you see this screen. You see me smiling. And when you see me smiling, you can just go up to live support materials, Leticia. And then every single day, right? There's last week, there's the video, there's the PowerPoint.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Who else? Anybody else have questions? Okay, that's all I've got, you guys. If you guys have questions, I can answer them, but otherwise, we're done for today.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Professor.
De nada, gracias, Leticia.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Tenga
Have
buen
a
día.
nice week. Bye-bye.
Have a good day. I'll see you guys soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye, you guys.